Hello and welcome to Tuesdays, the man who knows everything, and that is me. So, if you're tuning in for the first time, what happens is I'm going to give you 10 facts about a particular topic. Now, at the end of this, I'm going to give you another research topic so you can search for facts about knowledge you've already got. Maybe you can look at some books, or with an adult, you can look online. And then tomorrow, I'm going to give you the facts for that topic, and you can cross them off and see if you can beat me. It's very rarely happened, it has to be said, because I do know everything. Yesterday's topic was Pompeii and volcanoes. And I have to say there were just a couple of things that I forgot to mention because I do have great knowledge. I just didn't mention it to you live on Facebook, that's all. So I know that Sophie, Emily and Lola, you might all think that you're cleverer than I am, but I did actually know this fact, I just didn't say it, that's all that it was. So they've mentioned that when the archaeologists dug up Pompeii after it had been completely destroyed by a volcanic eruption, they discovered there was quite a lot of graffiti on a lot of the buildings. And also, Lola's mentioned about the chemical content of a volcanic eruption. So inside a volcanic explosion, there's water vapour, there's carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, hydrogen chloride, hydrogen fluoride, and hydrogen sulfate. So you can understand why a lot of people perished, because you don't want to be breathing that in, because it's not very good for you. So yesterday's research topic was space and planets. So I'm going to give you my 10 facts about space and planets. So get your pens ready to cross them off, because I bet you I've got them all that you've got. So the first one is the way that you can remember the order of the planets from the sun. So I guess my very easy method just speeds up naming planets. Hold that thought. We're going to come on to fact number 2 in a minute. So from the sun, it goes Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Oh, that thought, I know what you're going to say. So, my very easy method just speeds up naming planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. So, fact number 2, that I'm sure you've been screaming at your computer screen or your tablet or your phone, whoever you're looking at me now. Pluto, a planet, used to be classed as a planet until 2006, because it was declassified as a planet, because they discovered, when technology got better and telescopes got better, they discovered other celestial objects that were kind of the same as Pluto. So either it meant that these new things became planets, or Pluto was no longer a planet. So Pluto was declassified as a planet. So you can cross that off your list, and you need to cross off Pluto from my very easy method, just speeds up naming. Just stops there now. Maybe you could think of a different mnemonic. That's what it means. So the first letter of my very easy method stands for the first letter of each planet, but obviously planets can't be Pluto now. So maybe you can come up with your own. So my very easy method just speeds up naming. Nothing. The 3 things that were discovered that led up to Pluto being declassified was an object called Sedna, one called Eris, and one called Quaoar. And they're very similar to Pluto. So it either meant that Quaoar, Sedna and Eris became planets, or Pluto was demoted. Fact number 3, and this fact is about days and years. So it takes, the Earth is spinning around and around and around, but it's also orbiting the sun. 24 hours in our day, that's how long it takes for the Earth to rotate fully, 360 degrees. A year is how long it takes the Earth to rotate around the sun. That's one of, well, it's not really the fact I'm coming to. So, the reason I mention this is my fact is about Venus. And basically, it takes Venus 243 Earth days to completely rotate. So one day on Venus is the same as 243 days on Earth. But it only takes 225 Earth days for Venus to orbit the Sun, which means that on Venus, a day is longer than a year. It's mental, isn't it? What a brilliant fact. So the days on Venus are longer than their years because it takes longer for it to rotate all on its own than it does for it to orbit the Sun completely. So that was fact number 3. So a lot of you might have imagined about travelling into space and pretending to go on a space adventure. I can recommend it if you've got a spare afternoon. Go and pretend that you're exploring a different planet or the moon. You might even want to dress up as an astronaut. Give yourself a cardboard box on your head, cut an hole out, you got yourself an helmet. Well, if you wanted an actual NASA spacesuit, that would cost you nearly £10 million. So I stick to your cardboard box helmet if I were you. So that was fact number 4, that the cost of a spacesuit is nearly £10 million. But if you were to reach this next planet in my next fact, that wouldn't be an issue because there's a theory, this is fact number 5, that there is a planet in the universe that is made up of diamonds, a diamond planet, because this is research scientists at Yale University. It's quite difficult to say that. Research scientists at Yale University have done some research into a planet called 55 Cancri E. It's a rocky planet and the surface is all graphite and diamonds. So if you were able to get to that, then you'd easily be able to afford your £10 million spacesuit. But I think it's something like 80 light years away. So you'd be travelling for some time, and it might be 40. I'm going to check my facts. Maybe you could check it, look it up. Fact number 6. This is going to be definitely on your list. So, in space, there ain't no atmosphere. So, it's really difficult for sound to travel because it's got nothing to travel through. So, in space, it's completely silent. That's why when astronauts go up there, they have to use radios because radio waves can still travel, but it's sound waves that can't. So, space is completely silent because there's no atmosphere. Because there's no atmosphere, it also means that there's no wind. And it also means that the footprints on the moon that were left there from people that have walked across it and all the tracks that their equipment has left are going to be there for over 100 million years because there's no wind. So the dust imprints are just going to stay there. 100 million years, talk about leaving your mark. So that brings me on to fact number 7, since we're talking about the moon. There's another theory that the moon was actually part of the Earth. So there's a theory that when the Earth was a very young planet, that a big asteroid hit the Earth and part of the Earth broke off and it ended up orbiting the Earth. So the gravitational pull of the Earth kept pulling it back and now it's just stuck in orbit. So that the piece of rock in the sky that's the moon, there's a theory that was actually part of the Earth that's gone off out into orbit and is now orbiting our planet. Talking of space exploration, the first man in space, and this is fact number 8, was Yuri Gagarin. He did get out of his spacecraft and walk on the moon, but he was the first man in space, Yuri Gagarin, and he was a Soviet-Russian cosmonaut. And the first woman in space was Valentina Tereshkova, and she's also a Soviet cosmonaut. We very often hear about Yuri Gagarin, but you might not have heard of Valentina Tereshkova. She was the first woman in space, so you can look her up. First man on the moon, I'm sure this is going to be on some of your lists, is Neil Armstrong, of course. So he's the first man to walk on the moon, and in total there have been 12 people that have walked on the moon. But there hasn't been a single woman on the moon at all, which means that if you're a little girl watching this video, could be you. You could be up there trotting about on the moon. You could be the first person, the first woman to be able to do that. 12 men have walked across the moon, no women. Then, fact number 9. You might want to be able to explore the moon, but you struggle to explore Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. And the reason why is because those planets ain't got a solid surface, so you can't walk across it because them gas. So you won't be able to walk across those planets at all. So that's why you can't explore those planets, let alone the fact you've got to get up into space in the first place. But you won't be able to walk across those planets because they don't have a solid surface. And my final fact, fact number 10, is that there are more stars in the universe than there are grains of sand on Earth. Now, if you imagine picking up a handful of sand and how many grains of sand are in your hand, that's a lot. Then if you imagine all the grains of sand on the entire beach that you've just picked up the sand from, that's loads. But there's more stars in the entire universe than there are grains of sand on the entire Earth. So on all the beaches and all the deserts and all the land in all of our planet, there's more stars. So it's something like 1 billion trillion stars, which I think is pretty incredible. So those are my 10 facts about space and planets. If you have got a different fact that I mentioned, get an adult to pop it in the comments below and I'll have a look at those. And if you've got a topic that you want to challenge me on, or if you want to think about a topic you'd like to do some research on, then stick that in the comments as well and you might get a mention, just like Alfie did. Alfie has chosen our next topic, so you got some time to research these topics for tomorrow, and I'll see you again at 1 o'clock. Your topic is the Victorians. Go! I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks very much. Have a good day.